You've probably heard of the double empathy problem, though that's not what this video is about, but I'll recap real quick. The double empathy problem is something that happens a lot between, divergent and holistic people, or normal people, or whatever you want to call it, neurotypical people, when their points of views don't line up and they fail to have empathy for each other. A good example that comes to mind for me is I had 4 kids, so I had a really noisy world, noisy life, and as an autistic person, I couldn't tune out a lot of noise. I have misophonia, so like a lot of noise drove me insane. And as a parent, that was just unacceptable. You had to accept that kids made noise, and my co-parents obviously never had any kind of empathy towards me and my inability to withstand the noise. And of course, as an autistic person, you have to understand that, okay, well, everybody else apparently can tune out noise, so I'm unreasonable. I know as an autistic person that I'm just gonna be pissing on everyone's parade if I tell everyone to be quiet, but another autistic person understands, if I explain to another autistic person that they're making a noise that is triggering me, another autistic person understands that. That's the double empathy problem, that, autistic people understand other autistic people, holistic people understand other holistic people, but they don't have the empathy between each other. Even after the fact of understanding that my inability to withstand noise was a trait of my autism and neurodiversity, no one has ever apologized for calling me an asshole or telling me I was a terrible parent because I couldn't withstand the noise. The triple empathy problem, or the cyclical empathy problem, or the eternal empathy, infinite empathy, whatever I've named it, I A/B tested it. I didn't really know what to call it because the double empathy problem actually addresses a problem with apathy. So the idea of trying to figure out what the opposite of the double empathy problem would be was challenging. Not that this is even really the opposite, but the infinite empathy problem, it comes from being so deeply attuned to literally everyone. That's why I call it infinite empathy. And this generally comes from, if this occurs naturally inside of you, it's probably because you were deeply super attuned to your parents. This usually happens if you're disorganized attachment or CPTSD. This happens a lot where people are so attuned and hypervigilant to the emotions of people around them. It can also happen as a result of going down a spiritual path or deep meditation, or attaining whatever enlightenment kind of ideas of understanding human beings. I'm pretty sure that is a thing that would automatically come as a result of being a therapist, or I'm not sure how much research has been done on this, but I'm pretty sure these are the kinds of people who become therapists in the first place, because in order to be a therapist, you have to have this huge capacity to care for people who are very different than you. And I also believe this infinite empathy comes about if you were in recovery or something, if you were a recovering drug addict, or one of those people who came back from prison and now you're a pastor. You have this capacity to understand that people are ultimately the result of their surroundings and the actions of people around them, and that ultimately every single person is operating from some blind spot that they can't see, and you gain empathy for that. And that goes in both directions. You have empathy for the people who are hurting you, you are being abused at work per se, and you're I think my boss is narcissistic or whatever, but you're well, maybe they're really trying. And especially if you are a person who understands the feelings of your abuser in any way, you have super empathy for them. Heidi Priebe does a video about this with overtaking responsibility. You take responsibility for how people treat you, and you're responsible for how you treat everyone around you. If someone bullies you, you're so self-aware that you're like, well, what did I do to like cause this person to treat me this way? And you're so aware of your own feelings. You have self-love because you have the eternal empathy. You have the empathy for the person who's hurting you. You have empathy for yourself, but you also know that no one has the capacity to reciprocate your infinite empathy. And so it only goes outwards. It's not that you can get that much empathy from everyone around you, because the thing is, people cannot even have that much empathy. If you're like one of these people who has this super empathy, it kind of becomes an overwhelming thing. And I think as a result of, I think you have to be so sensitive already at default to be able to become this empathic. And the hardest thing about really navigating it is, and I've heard a lot of healers talk about this, is they lose their boundaries in being this person. And it's not even a performative thing. It's like, because we understand that there's like really no causality, like there's no one to blame for how we are. Like, we go our whole lives being mad at our parents for not showing up for us, and then we find out that their parents didn't show up for them. You think about history is obviously building on a broken world. We're getting better with time. We're getting better. Like, it's easy to understand with technology that, okay, 1,000 years ago, we couldn't make flying machines. Well, in the same way, 1,000 years ago, we probably didn't have the emotional intelligence we have today. And so the parents of those times, they didn't know what avoidant attachment was. They didn't know what projecting was. They weren't taught that, oh, well, your child is going to displace their feelings on all their relationships in the future if you don't allow them to express their emotions now. These are new frameworks that are guiding us towards a better future. And I think the super empathy thing, it might be slow to catch on, but I think it's a result of people being able to see more. So I think it's a result of globalization. The reason we have blind spots, and like I said, this whole series is about to be on blind spot and bias. So if you want to see the other videos about this, hit subscribe, because I'm not going to go super deep into any of these surrounding topics. But the thing is, if you're not able to step outside of your own point of view, your own bias, basically using the scientific method, you will always think everyone around you is wrong. And that's like a result of globalization, because like our brains didn't evolve to take other people's perspectives in as tribal human beings. We were taught, like our parents knew the truth, and there was no one outside of them, like the tribe all believed one thing. There was no such thing as like another person coming from across the ocean and thinking that your drum is stupid and crazy and that you're supposed to wash yourself with soap. Didn't you know that type of deal? Like your culture, your society, which is called monoculture. And like I said, this is basically the syllabus of this series of videos about empathy and bias. So I will cover all those topics about monoculture, bias, blind spots, cognitive, everything. Also, I will be linking a video in the description that Hank Green recently did on cognitive bias. It was actually a crash course, ironically enough. It's really about critical thinking. And so like all the next few videos will be about bias and empathy and critical thinking, how to step outside of your own thoughts, outside of your own head, and actually like incorporate other people's ideas into your globalized knowledge instead of living in echo chambers. So, if you want to like ever progress the future, if you've made it this far in the video, please hit like. Jesus, nobody likes the videos. I don't care if anyone likes the videos at this point. Actually, that's kind of part of this series too, is that the reason I've even created this channel is basically based on this empathy problem that I have with the universe, and the fact that I feel like as healers we give so much to the universe. We give ourselves completely in every relationship, or as much as we can. We'll give and give and give until we're dry, in friendships, in love, and at work. We'll be the person that is forced to stay the latest and do the most things. In our relationships, we are the most gaslighted, narcissistic people love us because we'll give and give and give, and they'll be able to guilt us into giving more. And we have empathy for them still because we understand whatever blind spot they're operating from. And we're not trying to be an enemy to them. We're actually trying to help them better their lives too. We're not, and it's not our job to save the world, but it's just how we feel because we have infinite empathy. So anyway, that's all for today. The next videos will be mowing down each of these topics more singularly, so they'll be more contained and less kind of aggressive for whatever kind of emotion I'm feeling and pushing right now through this video. But as always, stay mindful, and thanks for watching.